for coming to join me. My name is Emma and I am a knitter, so a very much beginner crocheter, and I'm also the dyer behind Yarnworthy. If you would like to come and find me elsewhere, I tend to be most active on Instagram. Over there I am at Yarnworthy Yarn. I predominantly share my yarn, but also all of my knitting and maybe in the future crochet projects too. And you can also find my hand-dyed yarn over on www.yarnworthy.co.uk. You are joining me here today in a pretty dreary, windy and miserable Shropshire. This is hence the slightly obscure setup. I've literally been chasing light around the house and this is the best I can come up with, so yeah, it's a little bit out of the ordinary and all over the place, but hopefully it at least means that you'll be able to see everything that I'm sharing today. It has been a long time since I recorded last time. I feel like this is exactly what I said last time I recorded, but it's equally true. But I really wanted to be able to share with you everything that I made in I want to say it was probably the latter half of last year, so 2021. I think the last time I recorded was probably sometime around June. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I think this is like probably 6 months worth of predominantly knitting. There's a few sewing projects in there, and yeah, I'm excited to be able to share bits again. I am hoping to record more. I have not bought out the things that I have started or cast off since the start of this year because I am hoping to be able to share them on more of a regular basis. So without further ado, I have a very, very limited window to get this recorded whilst placating my very defiant toddler who is supposed to be sleeping, and I can already hear her, before I have to go and get my son from school. So we'll get going. The last time I recorded, I remember I was partway through this, and this is the Poisoned Apple top by Lily Cape France. I absolutely love this top. It is the first time that I did, well, firstly one of Lily Kate's patterns, but also a pattern with bust darts, and the fit on me comparable to a pattern that's intended to be close fitting without bust darts is ridiculous. This fits so much better, to the extent where unless something was meant to be sort of boxy, oversized, I am trying to pop bust darts in myself now if the pattern doesn't already include that option. So yeah, if this is a pattern that you have lurking around on your list, or for that matter any of Lily Kate's patterns, I would highly recommend it. I cannot fault the pattern at all. In this particular pattern, the whole top is worked in DK weight, except this lovely yoke section. This is only on the front. And this is in like a fluffy base, so I have used my own yarn for this. So for the rest of the top, it is my 100% British BFL DK weight base in the colourway Grey Man, and for the yoke it is the same colourway, so Grey Man, but this is my Silky Surrey lace weight base. Obviously you could use a mohair. My skin's particularly sensitive, so I can't really tolerate mohair, but the Surrey base I absolutely love. It is so ridiculously soft. So yeah, if a pattern calls for mohair and you have a lot of sensitivities and you haven't tried Surrey Baby Alpaca, I would highly recommend it. The reason that I decided to go for the BFL rather than the merino, that's just in my base is what I stock, what my choice is really between, was purely because of this beautiful pleat bit on the sleeves to give this little bit of poof. Because it had a bit of structure, I decided to go with the BFL because it tends to have a little bit more rigidity. And yeah, I'm super happy with this. I'll see if I can scoot back, see if I can move you up a little bit. Yes, so here we go. This is the lovely fluffy yoke section and the main body. I did work the waist decreases afterwards, and then you get the lovely pleat with the poofy detail there. And yeah, really love this pattern. If you can see, it's slightly tighter here. I found a drop stitch somewhere way down here and decided to work it all the way back up through the series section. And in retrospect, I think I should have just tucked it through to the reverse, but yeah, I've blocked it, but it's still very tight. But anyway, this is my Poisoned Apple top. I will pop some better photos somewhere on the screen for you to have a look at. So the next thing that I made was the Soho Mystery Amcal. I think it was called, was it Brioche and Mystery? That sounds right. I'll pop the details on the screen, but essentially this was the Soho, which is Suzanne Summer, sorry, mystery shawl knit along that took place last summer. And I distinctly remember that here in the UK, it was just as the weather tipped to a few sunny days. And as I was picking my colour D, I decided on a bit of a whim to swap my colour D, which was originally going to be like a rusty, deep red colour, to this vivid orange, which is quite out of my comfort zone for me, but I guess because it's mixed in with everything else and more of a highlight, it kind of felt less scary to do, and I'm so glad that I did. I really enjoy having something that's quite distinctly different from the other things that I've got, shawl-wise or just generally within my makes. So yeah, it's turned out pretty massive, which is lovely, but very difficult to show on camera. So I'll see if I can pop some photos up for you. But yeah, essentially I used 2 greens for my A and B. I think this is the right order. They're A and B, and then this light blue colour for C and the orange for D. I'll pop the details up if I've got that wrong. But yeah, it's my, again, I decided to use BFL for this, but this is a fingering weight shawl. Using my yarn, the dark green is my colourway Secret Garden. The sort of like mid green is the colourway Grows on You. The light blue is Dabba D, and the orange is Naked Flame. So yeah, so that was a lot of fun. It's been a long time since I had done brioche. In fact, I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure the last time I'd done it before that was in the Starflake MCAL, which would have been, was it the one that was a year last October? So it would have been October, no, that couldn't have been right because it would have been lockdown, wouldn't it? It would have been October 2019. Yes, because there was shawlography in between. Train of thought. But yeah, so this is my finished shawl. Lots of fun. I'm really looking forward to trying some more brioche now. I'm really tempted to do a garment, and when I was having a look through, I couldn't quite decide, and then a new pattern came out by Johanna Locatelli, which was something to do with newspaper. But yeah, I was having a look at that and thinking, actually, I think that I'm not so much sure that I'd make it for me, but I actually thought it might be a really nice sweater on either my husband or maybe even if I can downsize it on my son. But yeah, something like that. Stretch my brioche a little bit. But yeah, loved this. Lots of fun. And the only other MCALs that I've done up to this point is Stephen West's MCALs, and I've done that since, I think Starflake might have been my first one. So I think I've done Starflake, shawlography, and then this year's, which is, sorry, not shawlography, it was Slip Extravaganza, wasn't it? This year was shawlography, which is to come in my pile of makes, I mean. So yeah, it was really nice to have a go at somebody else's, and yeah, it was lots of fun. A really nice thing to work on through the summer. Also found that, you know, when it gets to the bit of the warmer weather, this was actually lovely and lightweight enough to still work on. Like I tend to veer towards like linen containing yarns in like tops and things like that, or otherwise socks, but actually, you know, sort of like blocked out lightweight shawl. It was really nice to work on. I really enjoyed it. So if you haven't taken part in one of Suzanne Summer's MCALs, have a nose at what's coming up this year, especially if you do want to have a go at brioche, because I feel like Suzanne Summer's like the queen of brioche. And yeah, that was my brioche mystery. Just have a look on my phone. I've got a little bit of a list. There's a vague order that I made them in. So next was a secret test, which has now come out. I think it's now come out in finish. I hope I've got that right. I'll pop the details. Again, I'll pop everything on the screen and down below. So, and if I have missed something, just shout at me. But this was a secret test knit that I did. And I think I did it back in July and August maybe. And originally it was going to come out in like September, October, possibly November time. But in the end, it ended up coming out quite late on. I think maybe even, if it wasn't, might have been December at some point. Yeah, I don't think it was January, but it was late. And I think it doesn't come out in English until March. But that is this. which is a lovely cardigan. This is the Ruska pattern. I hope I'm not butchering the pronunciation of that. This is by Johanna. It is all over colourwork. So the colours that you've got on the yoke are then taken throughout on the sleeves and on the body. And yeah, it was my first go at steeking, and I really wanted to push myself to do that because I really much prefer knitting in the round than going back and forth. I don't mind purling, but if I can do something and whiz through it in the round, I'd much rather do that. But yeah, also, it's just something that I had on my list that I wanted to, not be afraid of and have a go at, because yeah, as long as you make sure that you follow all the instructions on it properly, then everything should be fine, right? So it's all going to be okay. So yeah, this is a bit of a, I guess, more autumnal in feel with the colours that I've chosen. If you have a look at some of the other testers, you'll see some of them have done like pinks and purples and all sorts really. But I decided to go for the background colour is my colourway Creep. And then the contrast colours, I used only a ginger and ember. This was the colour actually I mentioned that was going to be my contrast colour in my Soho shawl. But yes, it is quite a close fitting cardigan. Yeah, I mean, look at all those floats. It was quite time consuming. Definitely, once you got to the body, I guess it was quite sort of routine in terms of what you were doing, but definitely one that took up a lot of brain space. I decided to go for these sort of like, I guess, somewhat pearlescent buttons. They were just ones that I had in my, I want to say stash here, but I inherited like a button drawer thing, and they were, I think, the least like standoutish, because I thought there was already quite a lot going on. And that I had enough of, because I've got quite a lot of buttons on here. How many have I got? 3, 6, 9, 12. So yeah, a lot of the buttons that I've got in there are either very special, like single buttons, or I might have like 6, but 12 was quite the push. So yeah, I did do a separate video on steeking, which I have shared as a reel on my Instagram. So if you wanted to have a look at that, it's at Yarnworthy Yarn. You can find it in my reels on there. I did do a more in-depth one where I sort of talked through it, which I'm intending to put on YouTube. It's all been filmed, I just haven't edited it, so hopefully that will follow shortly. But in terms of stabilising this, I decided to use the sewn method. Again, sorry, I should have mentioned as well as the colours, this is fingering weight, and I used my BFL base again, purely because it's got a bit more bite to it than the merino. However, my BFL is a superwash base. So the recommendation for stabilising for steeking seems to be that if you're using a superwash base, go for the sewn method, and if you're using a non-superwash, go for either the sewn method or the crochet reinforcement. So I do now stock a really beautiful non-superwash organic merino, which would be fantastic for patterns like this. Anything that needs to be steeked, colourwork, cables, lacework, all that good stuff. But I only started carrying, well, I could only get my hands on that base from probably about October, way after this was done anyway. So yeah, that is that. I think that might be the first pattern of Johanna's I've done as well. But I have since got another pattern, which I think is the budding pattern, which I'm really looking forward to doing. It's another colourwork pattern, but it's almost like rounded yoke. I'll see if I can pop a picture on the screen. But yes, really nice pattern. The only thing with this, which I think is because it's a cardigan, there was no bust shaping, and I mean there's probably a way to do that by doing it on the side seams, but I'm not confident enough with adding that in at the moment to work out how to do that and not upset the colourwork pattern. So this is worked entirely as per the pattern. So yes, that is Ruska, which I will be sharing the details on my Instagram when it does go live in English, but I have a feeling that she said it was March where that sort of initial exclusivity came off. So where am I? The next thing that I made feels like quite a contrast to the autumnal feel of the last one, but is this. This is the Carrée tank, which was a collaboration with Tiny Teal Handcrafted, Vicky over there. I'll pop her details on the screen and down below. And she designed this beautiful tank pattern, get these lovely sort of like columns running through the yoke section, and then a nice little flowy body. The recommendation of the pattern is my yarn. This is my Silky alpaca linen base. So this is a beautiful non-superwash base, ridiculously lightweight, ridiculously soft, and then you get that lovely silky sheen and drape to it. So yeah, if you haven't tried a base that's got like linen and silk in it, that sort of combination, oh, it's so lovely to work with, but so lovely to wear. So yeah, this is her pattern, and how she worked it up was with 2 strands of the Silky alpaca linen fingering held double for the bottom, so it's bottom up. And then for this column section, she dropped the 1 strand and then added in a strand of another colour. So I'll pop her photo on the screen. She used my colourway Only a Ginger, held double for the bottom, and then 1 strand of Only a Ginger and 1 strand of Casper, which is this colour. It's like a white with silver for her top section. And that is pretty much how all of the other testers, I believe, worked it up. I think some might have gone completely solid. There's a couple of other examples of ones in my yarn as well. If you're interested, there are kits on my website which show some of the other projects as well. But I decided to have a go at working it up in a fade. So I started out with early hours held double. Then for this bit, I dropped 1 strand and picked up 1 strand of Kingfisher. Then I did 2 strands of Kingfisher. Then I dropped 1 strand and did a strand of Kingfisher with a strand of Eat Your Greens. Then I went into 2 strands of Eat Your Greens, 1 strand of Eat Your Greens with 1 strand of Casper, and then 2 strands of Casper. And the pattern itself, the majority of the kits came out at around 3 balls, so 2 in the main colour, 1 in the sort of extra colour that you pick up. And this used 4, which is the same as the larger sizes. So although it sounds like a lot of like swapping and changing, it's more because you've got the 2 strands being able to marl them, so you get a little bit more of a subtle fade. But yeah, it was really fun, and yeah, a really lovely one for the summer. So that was the Carrée Tank or Carrée Tank by Tiny Teal Handcrafted. Next on my list, I think, was a sewing pattern, and I'll just share the book with you because I absolutely love it. I do stock this book in my shop along with various other ones from Pom Pom Publishing. I obviously am not under any obligation to share or speak about it or anything like that, but I just wanted to let you know. Obviously, if you're interested in it, I think I've got 1 in stock at the moment, but this is my own copy, which I actually had before stocking it and was the reason that I started stocking it. I absolutely love this book. If you are interested in size inclusive makes, sounds like barely anything, and you'll see, considering the thickness of the book, it sounds kind of ridiculous. There are only technically 3 patterns in this book. There is a knitted top. I say top because you've got the option to do a cropped jumper, a full length jumper, or a cardigan. There is a sewn garment, because again, you can do a cropped top, a sort of like more full length tunic top, or a dress, and there is a shawl. However, how Jacqueline does her patterns is amazing. She has got a massive size range, so she has hers under just sort of an arbitrary numbering, so there's no small, medium, large. It's sizes 1 through 12, and I think the largest size is in excess of 70 inches, is it? Let me just have a look. It is a full bust of 67.75 inches, so a really, really, really good size range. And as well as having it for patterns, if you're somebody who's interested in garment construction or designing or just like adapting your knitwear to suit your body, I would so recommend getting your hands on this book, because the variations that Jacqueline goes through are amazing. So the one obvious one for me, which I did work, was the bust dart, but she also has guidance in there for working out things like, do you need a bicep adjustment? And she tells you when she feels that that would be appropriate to do. And then she gives you a whole bunch of maths. Literally, it's just like a plug-in numbers. to work out how much of adjustment you need. And then she takes you on to a sleeve adjustment, and she recommends when you will need that. So you'll need it if you do the bicep adjustment, or if you're varying the length or the cuff from what she's got in the pattern. She has got a body and hip adjustment. So if you're somebody who wants to do shaping at the waist, or doesn't want to, wants to actually increase in that area. So that could be because you've changed the length from what's in the pattern, or it could be because your difference between your bust and your waist is actually negative. So instead of like wanting waist shaping inwards, as a lot of patterns seem to only offer that option if they're going to offer any. It gives you the option to have more positive ease in that area. Again, calculations for all of that. It's just amazing, and that's in the knitted pattern, where you can do the cardigan, the cropped top, the full length top, all the variations on sleeves, etc. But also in the dress, which is pretty amazing for me because I'm not a very confident sewer. I think I'm better than I think I am. I'm not anything special on the sewing front at all. But I find it really difficult to trust myself to have a go at something, especially in like nice fabric and things like that. I'm sure a lot of people have those issues, but the Woolfork, this is actually the version that I've made, has options for different sleeve lengths, crop top, full length, and then this sort of like dipped hem dress. I don't know if that's the right term when it comes out from the middle, but it also has the option for a waist tie and pockets. Which I did initially buy the fabric to do both of those, and then decided against it. So I actually had about 1 metre of fabric left over. But yeah, it's similar in that you can, it sort of guides you to do all of the shaping. So the first thing that I made from here was the Woolfork. And as I said, I decided to go for the sleeveless dress with the sort of like, with the dipped hem, and I have done it in a double gauze, just looking at this and realising that it's inside out. Let me just put it the right way around. The fabric that I used is a 100% cotton double gauze from Frumble Fabric, and this is the colour Dusty Teal. And I wouldn't say this pattern was like necessarily beginner friendly, but definitely sort of like confident beginner, intermediate. The reason that I say that is this was my first attempt at doing any adjustments to a pattern. So I did adjust the height. I believe the pattern is written for, I want to say maybe 5'6", and I am considerably shorter than that. So I took, I think about 3 inches out of the length. And I'll pop some photos on the screen and you'll see that it is still very much full length. Like I would say probably where it's intended to be on me. And it was my first time doing bust darts in a sewn pattern. Doing French seams and doing interfacing, which it calls for, or sorry, facings, which it calls for on the neck and armholes. But Jacqueline completely holds your hand through that. There are details in the book to links to tutorials that she's done where she literally just takes you step by step through how to do it. And if you're like me, where it comes to something like that, I think I can feel quite easily overwhelmed. So I cope much better being like a visual learner, being able to actually see somebody do it and verbally explain it. And yeah, I'm so pleased with how this turned out. I appreciate that on the screen it just looks like I'm holding up fabric. You can see my one bust dart, but I'll pop the photos up, which will give you a much better idea. Sorry, that bit's probably going to be a really disjointed connection. It's absolutely throwing it down with rain, and my husband just got back from a work appointment, so I just quickly pressed stop and legged it down the house. So yeah, I can't remember where I ended up. I was talking about the Deren, but yeah, it's a brilliant pattern and gave me a lot of confidence actually going forward. I have a lot of sewing plans for myself this year as well as for the kids, and I tend to find that I veer towards the kids rather than me when it comes to that, just because it feels much more overwhelming somehow. Anyway, I also then decided to make the Deren, and I made myself a cropped jumper, which looks like this. It's so soft and cozy and lovely. So this is a cropped version, and I made this with my colourway Spill the Beans held double with 2 flower on Silky Suri. This year, I think, was the first year, maybe I did some in the back end of last year, but it was for my daughter. It's the first year I've experienced wearing Silky Suri held double with other yarn on myself. Oh, I absolutely love it. It's so soft and cozy. Anyway, sort of veering off topic, but yes, this is what the Deren looks like. Again, I'll pop some photos on the screen. I have got some where I'm wearing it over my Woolfork, and yeah, I will be making many more variations of both of these going forward. I really want to wear, I do really want to wear actually, I really want to make the tank or maybe short sleeved but like cropped version of the Woolfork, and I think I'll be making a full length sleeve, full body jumper in the Deren, as well as probably a cardigan as well. Seeing as there's so many variations you can make to it, that's what I was saying about the whole 3 pattern thing. There are so many ways that you can use it. I feel like actually it's more like if you counted up all the variations, probably more like 30 patterns. It's just so good. But yeah, if you are interested more in that side of things as well, I know that Jackie does do courses, like online courses and things like body shaping and bits like that. So I highly recommend following her over on Instagram or joining her newsletter for all that information, as I do. Anyway, I will stop waxing lyrical now, but I'm just so happy with those. And again, like bust darts, it's just a revelation. Anyway, what did I make next? Right, the next thing that I made, I also absolutely love. This was a test knit for Olga over at Handmade Closet. Sorry, complete mind blank there. This is the Filigrana sweater. I mean, look, it's just so pretty. It's a really beautiful yoke. Have I got that the right way around? Yes. 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 Really lovely yoke. And then it's the first time that I've experienced doing colour work on the cuffs and the body. I think I've possibly gone a little bit tight on my colour work on the bottom. There is a little bit of movement there, but I don't know, I feel like maybe I could have gone a little bit looser on that by the time I blocked it out. And you might be able to see, you can see the difference here in how it's pointing, that there is bust darts in this pattern too. Now, the one thing I will say, this pattern doesn't have bust darts. I added those in, and the pattern would not have worked for me if I hadn't done so. Because where it calls for you to stop the colour work, do the armhole separation and then work the body, yeah, it would have ended up in a really awkward place, like mid-bust for me. So you'll see that like I've actually added that there, and that sort of pulled it like quite a bit down. So yeah, I have actually popped full details on my Ravelry page for how I worked the bust darts. It was my first time having a go at doing that myself. Really pleased that it went like really successfully. Again, I'll pop photos of me actually wearing this on the screen. But yeah, if you just wanted to copy what mine were, obviously it applies to the size that I made, which again, I'll pop these details on the screen because I forget now, but I usually somewhere around size 4 or 5 from designer to designer. Then yeah, feel free to copy those. I know that Ravelry has accessibility issues, so if you would like those details separately or you just prefer them in an email, just pop me a message. I'm more than happy to share what I did over with you. But yeah, super pretty. This was me as well testing out at that point my new sport weight base, which was in the superwash. Have since got this in the organic base as well, but as you'll see, it was a high twist sport, so it's worked beautifully in the colour work. I absolutely love it, and in all honesty, these are colours on the yoke that I wouldn't necessarily have ordinarily gone for on myself, but I'm so happy with them. I feel like it's such a lovely contrast to the main body colour. So the colours that I went for is, this is Practice What You Preach and Clay It On Me, which are part of my muted collection. And then the main body colour is this lovely like bronzy olivey green, and that's my colourway Later Alligator. So yeah, that was the Filigrana sweater. And just consult my phone. Well, what did I make next? Next, I apparently made the Garter ear flap hat, which was a gift, so I don't have anything to actually hold up. I'll pop a photo on the screen. It's a free pattern by Purl Soho. I have made it multiple times before for children. This was the first time I'd done the adult size, but it's obviously just a variation on the children's. It's a fab pattern. It's a really fun pattern for autumn, winter. And yeah, I made that in my hand-dyed yarn. I have a feeling, double check the photos. I think I made it in my colourway Cruella, and it was in a 100% British BFL Aran weight. And then I think I made a couple of sewn items. So the one of them I haven't got here, had a quick look before I came downstairs to record and couldn't locate it. What have I done with the other one? Oh, it's on the floor. Yeah, so it was a couple of bits that I made for my son. So the first was this really fun fabric. It's like sort of like Lego construction. This is the Baggy Tee, I think, by Brindle and Twig. Yeah, really nice pattern, and it was my first time as well using a twin needle. I was really happy with this, went really successfully, and then I think about a month after, the twin needle stitching on the bottom hem pulled and snapped. So I've got a very long thread here. I'm in the middle of unpicking this at the moment to redo it. I'm not quite sure why that did that. I've obviously either got a setting wrong somewhere or perhaps the wrong size for him to be able to pull it over his head. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, really lovely pattern. I really like all the Brindle and Twig ones for kids. They're sort of like really gender neutral, really easy wardrobe staples. So yeah, I'm just trying to work out, part of my aim this year is to work out a top, a jumper, trousers, and for my daughter, like a t-shirt dress type things. That's what she veers towards most of the time for both of the kids, so that I've got like a fail-safe option to just whiz them something up. So yeah, that was me really like sort of tinkering with it to work it out, because, you know, as everybody is, neither of my children like fit within standard sizing. My son is very tall for his age, he's 7, but tends to wear a age 9 to 10. And my daughter is very slight, like her chest measurement tends to come in the 6 to 12 month size on most of the sewing patterns, but she is 2 going on 3, and height wise she's actually quite tall for her age, so she tends to hit the age 4. So obviously for both of them there's a little bit of altering to do. I also made him as well another pattern from Brindle and Twig. This is the one I couldn't find. It is I think it was called the Vintage Sweat. I have previously made him before. I think it's the lounge jumper. Again, the details will be on the screen. Which was really nice, but I just wanted to try something slightly different, and this had a different sleeve construction and different overall feel to it. I made this one in a really lovely camo print. I should have said actually, both of those again were from Fumble Fabrics, as was all of the ribbing, I think. There might have been one set of the ribbing from Guthrie Garney, which I think was is it Poppy? The cuffing, which it was my first having a go with that, and wasn't exactly clear on how I was meant to use it as opposed to like doubling up for ribbing fabric. So yeah, it's not on this one, I think it's on the other one. Didn't make the best attempt at it, but I've kind of got to grips with what I'm supposed to do with that. But yeah, that was really nice as well. I think the only thing is that I went off some of the measurements and I obviously got the body length a little bit wrong, because it's already like high-ish waist on him, like pushing it. So I definitely need to go for a longer body length. So yeah, that was the couple of bits that I sewed for him. And then, oh, I forgot to grab my socks. Treated myself to a pair of socks. They were in my BFL high twist base. If you don't know, I don't carry yarns that contain any plastic, so all of my yarns are 100% natural. So the high twist tends to be what I go for socks, or something containing silk, so that there's a little bit more strength basically added. And this was my colourway Block Party, and I actually made these going into sort of autumn winter. It was just such a really nice, fun, bright pair of socks to have. But originally here in the UK, it was when things were like freeing back up a little bit, and I think I was on the back end of the Filigrana sweater, and my son had like soft play parties and that coming up. I was like, I can't take this with me. So I distinctly remember the one morning before one of them, like really quickly trying to cast on for the socks so that I could take that with me. But yeah, I did the Hermione's Everyday Sock pattern, but I eliminated the texture this time and just went for essentially a plain vanilla sock. But I really like the construction method on that pattern. The other one that I want to try is is it the Fish Lip Kiss heel? I hope that's right. But it requires you to sort of like draw your foot out on cardboard, and it was completely new to me. I think once you've got everything set up, it's probably very straightforward, but I didn't have time, so I didn't do it that time. But that's on my list to try. And then, yes, the next thing that I made is the Carrée bonnet. Again, I've left this in the car because my daughter is wearing it every day at the moment. But this is the 3rd year running that I have made the Carrée bonnet. I love this pattern. It is by Stash It and Boris Designs, I think. And again, I made this in BFL, my go-to. It's DK weight, and this is my colourway. I'm pretty pleased with the cherry on top, just a really fun speckled pinky reddy brown on a bare base. And yeah, it's a fab fit. Really love this pattern. I'll see if I can get one more done for her at the back end of this year, and then I think she will have exceeded the size range, unfortunately. And to be fair, I'm not quite sure how long she'd let her wear bonnets beyond that, but I think, sadly, I think it only goes up to an age 3 to 4. So I might see if I can maybe vary my gauge to extend that a bit, or otherwise hunt another one down. There is a lovely pattern from Tin Can Knits as well, so maybe I'll try that one instead. And then, where are we? I cast on something which is a work in progress, and it's going to be a work in progress for quite a long time. This is really unusual for me because I tend to be quite a monogamous litter. And I got to the end of, I think, the Filigrana, and I couldn't decide what like big project I wanted to make next. And in the end, I cast on the Northeasterly, and partly because of being a dyer, I tend to try and do a little sample from a 20 gram skein of all of my new colourways, or at least I'm trying to work through those. I end up with quite a lot of like partial 20 gram skeins, or obviously leftovers from big projects that I've done. And yeah, so I decided to cast on the Northeasterly. I hadn't made a blanket before, other than a couple of baby blankets at this point, and I don't think I'll ever not have a blanket next to me now. I didn't realise how nice it was to not be floundering when I get to the end of a project and just be able to sit back and mindlessly work on something. And also just be like working through those bits, which feels like a bit of a weight to just have lurking around. So I'll see if I can quickly show you where I'm up to. I've decided to go for quite a large size blanket, so I don't think I'm going to fit the full length on. But yeah, this is quite big, and I've just added the second sort of like column on there, and then I abandoned it at that point to do some more projects and then started my advent knitting, so I probably haven't picked it up since October, but I'm just happy knowing it's sat there. I feel like in future I'll have one main project, that, and then possibly a pair of socks for carrying around. I think that'd be a happy medium, because I don't like having partially finished projects lurking around. I feel like it kind of stresses me out a bit, but that feels like a nice happy medium. So yeah, Northeasterly is by, I've got a complete mind blank, Skeinanigans. Oh dear, brain when you're under time pressure. But yes, fab pattern. The only variation that I've done is the joining method, which again is on my Ravelry page, but I just preferred visually the look of having a similar connection to the centre. But yeah, if you're interested in that, again, if you're not on Ravelry, just let me know and I will pop that over for you. Where are we up to? Right, we're up to Stephen West and Cal territory. Not too many more left now. So the shawlography, I carried a brand new base just before this started and decided to go for it. I'm so glad that I did. I absolutely adore this. It's just lovely. This was, new to me at the time. This is my Silky Yak base, which is a merino, silk and yak blend. And the colourways that I've got there, the sort of like pinky colour is Clay It On Me. The gold colour is Fantastic Mister. The deep green colour is Secret Garden, and then the sort of like bluey, this colour up here, this is Whatever Floats Your Boat. Oh yeah, and I did vary it just by adding Silky Suri for the bobbles, purely because when I got to them I did suspect it was going to be the case. I started off with the yak, and of course it's very silky and drapey, so it wasn't really giving my bobble that sort of pop. So I swapped it out for Silky Suri. I'm so glad I did. They're really like bulbous and poppy outy. So this is my colourway. In fact, it was my leftovers from this. It's Grey Man. Yeah, and I also decided to then use it for my bind off as well. Sorry, I should have mentioned that. just to sort of tie it back in together. And I think because of that, when it came to the next section, I did swap over which colour was dominant, because the bobbles should have been in the sort of bluey colour, and then this section would have had that then as the background, but I swapped it to be in the foreground just to balance the use of that colour out. And yeah, it's just so soft and so lovely. And yeah, it was such a fun pattern. I think it was clue 3, or was it clue 2? Maybe it was clue 2, was a bit of a beast. And then, yeah, that's right, because clue 3 was just the brioche, and I think I did it in a day and was expecting a secret clue, and there wasn't one. And then, yeah, the last section did take me a little bit of a while to get finished. I think it was when I was in the middle of Advent dyeing, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it's just lovely, and it was so much fun. I think now that I've done it the last few years, it's been like my turning sign for it's autumn, everything's starting to get a bit cosy, to do the MCAL, so I just look forward to them. And then just 2 makes left, so I think I did technically do this last, once I'd finished my Advent knitting, but another hat gift, the Felicity, which I have made before. I'll pop a photo on the screen because it's obviously been gifted for Christmas since. But I did this in my colourway Casper. Again, it was BFL held double with Silky Siri. No surprises there. It's so soft and fluffy, it's just lovely. I haven't got any photos of it on a head, having said that, so it's probably going to look quite weird, but it's like a slouchy, really loose around the brim beanie, so if you've got somebody who doesn't really like to have tight ribbing or yeah, anything that's going to rub or anything like that around the face, this is a really good pattern to go for, and I think it is a free pattern. And yeah, the last big make of the year, I actually can't believe I got this done so quickly, but my Advent calendar. So I was umming and ahhing as to what to make with this for ages. Actually, if you're interested, I'll pop the details below. I did do a Pinterest board of ideas for Advent calendar yarns, which would also work for mini skein scraps, mini clubs, any of those sorts of things as well. But yeah, I decided, because it's obviously my calendar, I wanted the, just realised I've got this, oh no, this is right. I wanted each day to actually be able to see the colour properly, and quite a lot of the Advent patterns go into Garter, and I feel like without it being stockinette you can sometimes lose some of that detail, so what I decided to do was just cast on and do a rectangle for each day and then connect all of those at the end, so I just made it up as I went along really. And this is what it looks like. Again, oh, it's pretty ginormous. I will pop a couple of photos on the screen, but yeah, this is fingering weight. I connected it with leftovers of my Casper Silky Siri, and also did that as a border. It could do with, in some places, reblocking since I've done all the border edging, but my kids very quickly wanted it, and well, it doesn't matter really, we'll do it another time when it no doubt needs a wash. So yeah, really enjoyed that, and I think I cast on in October, maybe even, no, actually I think it was November, and my aim was to try and do a rectangle a day. I didn't manage that, but I would say probably 90% of the time I did, and I finished, I want to say it was like around the 14th of December, which is pretty amazing. I was pretty surprised that I got through that quickly. So yes, that is absolutely everything from the last 6 months. I'm not going to go through any of my current whips, January makes, or any of my plans for this year in this video, because it will already be massively long. So yeah, thank you so much for stopping by again, and hopefully this will be much more regular this year, and I look forward to seeing you soon. If you want to come over and see me in the meantime, Instagram tends to be where I am at. That's at yarn, and my hand-dyed yarn is over on www.yarnworthy.co.uk. See you soon.